What's going on, guys? So in front of me is our 2021 Coachman Brookstone 398 MBL fifth wheel that we've had for 5 years now. And I've made a lot of videos on this, including a video recently where I talked about the fact that we might actually be getting rid of it. Now, this has really been a difficult decision to make, mainly because we really love it. I mean, the floor plan is absolutely awesome. It does lack some of the things that we would love to see. I'd love to have a garage space in the back so I could bring my mountain bike and my e-bikes with us, which we can't currently do unless we load them inside of the RV. That's not really practical. I mean, there's a lot of things that I would love to be able to do with an RV. And quite frankly, it's one of my missions to try to figure out how I can work with manufacturers to bring some of the things that I know would be helpful for so many people to RV floor plans, change things up a little bit, perhaps like a toy hauler that has more of a living room and a kitchen space focus and less so of a garage space. I've talked about this in a lot of videos. Until somebody actually jumps on it and creates that floor plan, we're probably going to hold on to this one for a while longer. Now, this thing has absolutely been a phenomenal fifth wheel for us, and it has been connected full-time out here for quite some time as well, and we still take it on trips, but it's definitely showing its age in a few ways. There's some maintenance things we still need to do to it. So for instance, like some of this stuff is starting to shrink up a little bit and I have to put that back in. I got to probably add a different material right there. But aside from that, things have actually been really good. The roof membrane has been absolutely perfect. I get up there maybe 3-4 times a year, check on it, make sure all the sealant still looks good, and it absolutely has been holding up like a champ. The sidewall looks really good. The front cap doesn't look aged or dated at all. It just really has been a solid fifth wheel. It's got a drop frame 12-inch I-beam with a 10-inch drop section right there. It's just been a great fifth wheel. That said, we will probably still have this for a while, at least again until we can figure out what that next great floor plan is from, all the manufacturers that I think people are expecting them from. We have this Reese Goosebox up front, and this video is to talk just a little bit about this one and the real purpose of today's video. Hang tight, I'll be right back. Okay, so since we plan on keeping the fifth wheel, at least for, the next several months at minimum, we decided to make a move that I told you all I would make when it made sense. And that was years and years and years ago. So I've been collaborating with Reese and the Goosebox ever since the first generation. This is the third generation of it. And the first generation was really awesome and it had a few little areas that it could have improved. Second generation largely addressed some of those areas. The third generation, I'm not going to say was a disappointment, but it definitely changed things in a way that no longer kind of made sense for me because of some of the things that they did. Now, I still like the product. I like what it does. It converts a traditional fifth wheel connection into a gooseneck connection. That is kind of the primary purpose. But in order to do it well, you should have some type of shock absorption built into it. And the way Reese does it is they put an airbag in here with dual shock absorbers right here. And that system works pretty dang well. It definitely makes for a really nice pulling and towing connection. The challenge I've had with this is the fact that every time I come out here and connect to it and go, I seem to always have to add air to the airbag. And this is something that I had kind of told the folks over at Reese from the beginning. It would have been cool if they would have moved away from an airbag, possibly to something like either rubber or polyurethane, something that would have not required as much maintenance and upkeep. Now, again, it's not a tremendous amount of maintenance and upkeep. It's essentially greasing a few grease zerks, getting in the bed of your vehicle, adding air to it if you need to. Underneath the solar panel is the actual area where you add air right there. And that is not super convenient. So what I did in a video was I connected a small air compressor inside there, ran up here, and I simply have to turn the air compressor on and it fills the airbag up. So it makes things a lot easier. However, I have been very critical against a product in the past that I really want to try out now, and I think it's the right time because the improvements that they've made. So let's talk about that, and let me show you what we'll be swapping out the Reese Goosebox with. So, in the bed of my truck is a Gen Y Executive fifth wheel to gooseneck conversion. This is something that, again, if you followed my channel for a while, there's some of you who are going to be like, well, obviously you're going to go to this. Some people were like, I can't believe you would ever go to this. And some people are like, big question mark. Like, why would you go to something like this? So let's quickly talk about this before we unbox it. So in the past, I think a lot of people are very aware that there was a concern that if you went to the Gen Y Executive Hitch, you would void the frame warranty on your RV. Now, that is not necessarily accurate. If your frame failed and they could, absolutely contribute it to the hitch and saying the hitch is the reason why your frame failed, then yes, it could probably void that part of your warranty. However, the folks over at Gen Y have been very, very open and honest in terms of their interactions with Lippert to make sure that their hitch meets all the engineered and technical requirements that Lippert was specifically looking for. So in the past, the reason why I didn't go with this hitch isn't because I didn't have access to it. I could have gotten this hitch from eTrailer from day one, like years and years and years ago. I could have gotten this from Gen Y years and years and years ago. And the reason why I didn't was because our RV was still under warranty, and some of the changes to the Executive hadn't yet been made to be more in line with what Lippert wanted from the folks at Gen Y to make sure that it didn't cause any potential issues. Now, I had a really cool factory tour over at Gen Y, and that kind of led up to this because I wanted to see how they've innovated, what they've done, and how their current design looks. And they made some changes, primarily to ensure that the distance between the coupling point in the bed of your vehicle and where it mounts to the fifth wheel is precisely where Lippert wants to see it in order to ensure there's no additional leverage or force being applied to the frame itself. And Gen Y made those changes. But the interesting thing is they've told me they've sold over 30,000 Executive hitches, and they have not had one denied warranty claim because of the Gen Y hitch being installed on an RV. That's a pretty bold claim, and that's pretty awesome. Now, the change that they made to this product that's in the bed of my truck is one that they made, I think, a little over a year ago, and that was to ensure that that distance between the mounting point and the coupling point was exactly where it needed to be. And they've done all the testing, they've done all the proving ground tests, all the torture tests, and everything to make sure that it's exactly where it should be. And they've provided that data to Lippert, but I think that a lot of people probably understand that they are kind of competing companies when it comes to this hitch space, and there are some reasons likely why Lippert hasn't completely said, you know what, we're blessing this product. But all the data is there. They've done the testing. They are absolutely confident that their hitch is a really, really good solution for those of you who are looking to reduce the amount of shock that is transferred to the RV whenever you're going over roads, because I think a lot of people realize these dually trucks sometimes have really stiff suspension, and that can be a lot of the reason why when you're going down really bumpy roads, you could possibly be causing some undue stress and potentially damage to the superstructure of your RV. So I hope all of that makes sense. Just like the folks over at Brinkley say about their RVs, they know how to build well, but they don't know how to build light. And yeah, it's kind of the same way with the folks over at Gen Y. They know how to build well, and when you build something really well, it tends not to be extremely light, at least when it comes to trailers, RVing, and this type of stuff. That said, what's really cool though, whenever you look at this type of a setup, is the fact that you really only need a few tools to actually do the whole swap out. Of course, unless you have like a tractor and other things. What I would typically do, and what you've probably seen in the past on my channel, is I would take my truck, I would back it up, I would actually get this lowered down into the bed of my truck, then I would unbolt the top and I would just kind of like lean it over. It's a really, really easy way to do it, and you're really using the landing gear of your RV as the means to do it, which makes, again, a lot easier in terms of just the overall amount of energy you have to exert to do it. But since I have the tractor, I really don't need to do that, and I can bring everything up to the RV, which is going to be really nice. But this thing right here is crazy, crazy heavy. What I like is the fact that you can purchase a torsion lifetime warranty if you want as well, just in case you want to improve the coverage that you have on your hitch. So again, really cool. There are other forms of technology out there that accomplish something similar to this. Even the Goosebox is a good piece of equipment, but I've been really wanting to try the Executive because I hear so many good comments about how this performs. And the big improvement they made is the fact that that measurement is different now. So if you look at it, you can see how this is all tapered back right here. This used to be further out this way, and they wanted to get it in line in terms of measurement between the mounting location and the coupler to where Lippert said is ideal. So you can see they've actually moved the assembly back this way, and it kind of flanges out underneath the body of it itself. So that is really cool. They got all the measurements in line now. And yeah, this is gonna be really awesome, other than the fact that it's really, really heavy, even though I have a tractor. And in the box next to it, I have the chains as well as the bolt kit, and they look like they're all grade 8 bolts that we're going to use to attach this to the wings on the 1621 mount style. So this right here is called 1621. This is the type of mounting wings that accept the PinBox. So on some RVs, it's going to be different. On the Rhino upper deck or the new Space Saver upper deck, it is different. So you want to be sure that you're not just ordering the correct hitch in terms of fitment, but that you're also getting it in terms of the amount of force it's going to take before your torsion arms start to move. You don't just want to get the heaviest duty model they make, because you're going to find out that these aren't going to flex very much under lighter weight. So you want to be sure that you order the one specific to the amount of tongue weight that you'll be applying to it. And when they asked me about our pin weight, it's about 3,500 to 3,600 pounds. So it's a lot of weight, mainly because we have a generator, washer and dryer, upgraded mattress. We just got a lot of weight up here in the front, including that really heavy battery that we have in there. So yeah, we definitely wanted to be sure we got the right one, because we want this torsion flex technology to actually function the way it's designed to. And if we would have gone super overkill, let's say one designed for like 6,000 pounds worth of tongue weight, these things would barely move. You wouldn't really get any shock dampening in there, and it just would put you in a position of kind of wasting your money because you got the wrong hitch for the application you have. In contrast, if you get the heavier duty Goosebox, it's an airbag, so you can always dial it in. And going overkill on something like this with an airbag really isn't that big of a deal. But again, you want to be sure you order the right executive if this is something you're going to move to. And the folks at eTrailer can walk you through all of that. eTrailer carries the entire Gen Y lineup, and again, they can walk you through any of these products, how to set it up, what you need to do. And that's one of the really, really good reasons to deal with eTrailer. Phenomenal company. They sell just about everything, but they're also really, really knowledgeable about not just installing them. They have videos on all of that stuff, but also walking you through best practices. Okay, so I have all of the stuff that was tying the RV to the PinBox or the Goosebox disconnected now. I had that solar panel that I had on top of here, kind of covering this area. Pretty cool product. I don't really have a need for it anymore because I have more solar on the roof, and this was just made to kind of trickle charge the battery whenever it was in storage, but you can definitely see it's seen its better days. That said, everything's now disconnected between the two. So all I really have to do is lift the pallets up right here, put it right under this part, and then as I unbolt it, I should just be able to set this down and lean it over onto that pallet. And then I have the Gen Y over here, which I'll position upright so I can lift this pallet up and just kind of set it in place, and hopefully lift this one up in place and put a couple bolts through it so I can get it started. Now, something that I'm going to have to do just to be sure that I have this one at the right height in terms of where it's mounting, I'm going to measure from the coupler to the ground on my Goosebox, because I know that that measurement is going to give me the measurement I want to kind of make sure this one is going to be the same clearance. So whenever we hitch it up to the truck, we have the correct amount of over rail clearance. But that could be something I'm going to have to modify later if I don't have, or if I have too much clearance right here between the bottom of the overhang here and the top of the truck rails on the side of the truck right there. So let's go ahead and get this one measured real quick, and then we'll drop it down, and I'll proceed to hopefully getting it offloaded so we can install this one. Okay, so the measurement from the coupler to the ground was 39 inches, and I have the tractor pulled up. I even have it tilted up slightly so it's not as much of a drop whenever I loosen these bolts and just kind of lower it down right here. It's not going to be very heavy. The vast majority of the weight is going to be in this section right here, so we're going to go ahead and do that. Well, I had to get the big boy out because these things are tight. Okay, so I keep the last two in just because I don't want the thing just to drop out when I pull them out. So I'm going to keep at least one bolt in to kind of secure it in place. Then I'll pop that one out at the last minute. Okay, so I have the Goosebox disconnected out of the way, and I have the executive positioned, hopefully, so I can just scoop it up with the forks, bring it over here, slide it in place. We should be good to go. You know, I'm probably going to put some rust protectant on this area just to kind of clean it up a little bit too. But yeah, we just need to position it in place and we should be good to go. Okay, let's see what we got going on here. So I need to drop it down a little bit and pull it forward just a hair. Okay, so I have a bad thunderstorm rolling in, and I basically skipped through a lot of this part getting this in place, but it just took a lot of going back and forth, going slightly up and down, tilting it forward and backward until I got all of the bolts in. I still need to torque them down, but I'll research these and figure out what I need to torque them to. I'll tighten everything up now so I can kind of get the project done, but we will take this out for a nice drive to show you what the camera footage looks like capturing this. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and get these bolts at least pre-tightened for now, and then I'll come back with the torque wrench and get them tightened completely. Okay, so there you have it. We have it installed. We have all the bolts tightened. I need to come back with the torque wrench, which I will do. I do need to reconnect the trailer breakaway for the brakes. I need to remove that air hose line, which is going to be pretty nice because honestly, I thought it was pretty tacky the way that I put it up there. I need to fix that little piece of trim that I just noticed while I was out here filming when I first started. You might be able to see the thunderstorms in the background, and it is probably about to drop in on top of me. So, yep, we're going to wrap this video up. Next video will actually be us using this and me giving you my impression on how this bad boy works. But after visiting them, after seeing the testing that they've put it through and what they've submitted to Lippert, and the fact that they have met all the criteria that they were told to meet in order to be approved, I'm pretty excited to see how this performs. Again, with between 3,500 and 3,600 pounds worth of pin weight that'll be resting on it. I've heard so much feedback from folks who own this product, defend it vigorously, and I think this is the best hitch they've ever installed on their fifth wheel. So we'll see. Guys, if you haven't had a chance, please take a moment, subscribe to the channel. Big shout out to the folks over at Gen Y and eTrailer, my official channel sponsor, who sells this product. I will put a link in the description of this video. Again, always make sure that you're getting it for the right wings up here. The folks at eTrailer can walk you through that process, and be sure you're getting it with the correct torsion rating to make sure that it actually functions the way it should when you install it on your fifth wheel or toy hauler. Guys, we'll talk to you again very soon.